I still remember the exact second my life broke. It wasn't when the contractions started. It wasn't even when the doctor said, "We need to move now." It was when my husband looked at me, phone in his hand, and said, "I can't do this, Mia. I'm not ready to be a father." And then he walked out. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Mia Carter, and 6 years ago I thought I was living the perfect life. I had the perfect plan. I was 26, married to my college sweetheart, living in a small apartment we couldn't really afford but pretended we could. We had a Pinterest kitchen, fairy lights in the bedroom, and a baby boy on the way. And more than anything, I believed in us. Or, I believed in the version of us I'd built in my head. My husband's name is Ethan. Everyone loved him. He was the guy who could talk to anyone, joke with anyone, flirt without really flirting. My friends used to say, "You're so lucky, Mia. Ethan is such a catch." I smiled when they said that. I never told them that sometimes, when Ethan smiled at me, something in his eyes didn't match. The night everything started to crack, I was 8 months pregnant. We were in bed, the TV playing some random sitcom in the background, my feet swollen, my back aching. I laughed at something on the show and placed Ethan's hand on my belly. "He's moving," I said, "feel that?" Our son kicked right against his palm. For half a second Ethan looked soft. Like he could fall in love with that tiny kick. Then his phone buzzed on the nightstand. He pulled his hand away. "One sec, babe," he muttered. 1 sec turned into 5 minutes. Then 10. Then him turning his whole body away from me to type faster. I stared at his back. The blue light from his phone lit up his face every few seconds as new texts came in. I tried to sound casual. "Work again?" He hesitated. "Too long." Yeah, just, you know how they are. Launch coming up." He was a freelance graphic designer. There was no launch. There was no they. I felt that first, tiny, hairline crack inside my chest. Over the next few weeks, Ethan was home less and less. Late night meetings. Drained battery every time I asked to call him. Showers as soon as he got home, like he was washing something off. I tried to trust him. I told myself hormones were making me paranoid. When you're pregnant, everyone tells you you're emotional, sensitive, overthinking. So when the voice in your head whispers, "Something is wrong," you silence it, because you're scared they'll say, "See? You're crazy." But some things you can't ignore. Like the lipstick stain on his collar when he came in at 1 a.m. We didn't even own that shade. "Whose is it?" My voice came out calm, too calm. He looked down at his shirt. His eyes flickered. "It's nothing." Somebody at the bar hugged me goodbye. You know how people are. "You're really going to start this right now, Mia?" "I'm 9 months pregnant, Ethan." "You came home at 1 a.m. with lipstick on your shirt." "Yes, I'm going to start this right now." He rolled his eyes and tossed the shirt in the hamper. "You're paranoid. You never used to be like this before the baby." That sentence cut deeper than anything. Before the baby. As if our son was some kind of infection that had changed me into something ugly. I didn't know how to argue with that, so I just sat down on the couch and held my belly. Our son kicked again, as if reminding me he was there, listening. 3 days later, my water broke. Of course it happened at the worst time. Ethan was out with a friend, and my mom was at a night shift across town. I was alone in the kitchen, washing dishes, when I felt it. Warm fluid running down my legs. The plate slipped out of my hand and shattered in the sink. My heart started racing. My phone was on the table. I grabbed it with shaking hands. I called Ethan first. No answer. Called again. No answer. Texted, "My water broke." "Answer your phone." The typing dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then finally. "Can't talk. Busy. Call your mom or an ambulance." I stared at the screen. Busy. I didn't even have time to cry. Another contraction hit like a wave, doubling me over. I grabbed my keys, my hospital bag, and somehow made it downstairs and into a cab. The driver kept glancing at me in terror. "You okay, ma'am?" "Just drive." The hospital was bright, white, sterile, and full of people who weren't ready for me. Forms. Monitors. Nurses talking over me. My body splitting itself open while they told me to just breathe. In the chaos, I kept checking my phone. No missed calls. No new messages. I texted again, "I'm in the hospital." "Where are you?" "Nothing." When my mom finally arrived, flustered and half out of breath, she squeezed my hand so hard I thought my fingers might break. "Where's Ethan?" she asked. I swallowed. "He said he's busy." Her eyes flashed with something I didn't want to name. "I'll call him." She stepped out into the hallway. Through the haze of contractions, I heard her voice, muffled, angry, then sharply quiet. When she came back, her face was tight. "He's on his way," she lied. I could tell it was a lie. The wrinkle between her brows always appeared when she lied to try and protect me. But I didn't call her out. I needed the illusion more than I needed the truth. Hours blurred. Sweat. Pain. The sound of machines. The doctor's voice, "We're almost there, Mia. You're doing great." Great. I didn't feel great. I felt abandoned. Every time the door opened, I looked up, expecting Ethan to rush in, apologize, kiss my forehead, say he was sorry, say he was scared. But he didn't. The only people in the room were me, my mom, the doctor, and a nurse with kind eyes who kept wiping my forehead with a cold cloth. Is my husband here?" I gasped between contractions. The nurse hesitated. "He'll be here soon, sweetie. Focus on breathing for now." Everyone kept lying to me that day. Except my body. My body told the truth in screams and tearing in blood. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I heard the doctor say, "One more big push, Mia. One more, and you'll meet your son." My chest burned. My throat burned. My heart. I wasn't even sure it was still there. I pushed. And then I heard it. A cry. Thin at first, then louder. "My son." They put him on my chest. He was small, red, angry, alive. Tears flew out of my eyes before I knew I was crying. "Hi," I whispered, voice shaking. "Hi, baby." His tiny fingers curled around mine like I was the only solid thing in his new universe. In that instant, something inside me locked into place. It wasn't calm or joy or some movie version of motherhood. It was a vow. "I won't let you feel abandoned the way I do right now." I looked toward the door one last time. It was still empty. No father's silhouette. No Ethan. Just the hallway light spilling in. They took my son to clean him and check his vitals. My mom followed them out, leaving me alone for a moment. The room went quiet. The adrenaline faded just enough for the truth to seep in. My husband knew I was in labor. He chose not to be here. My phone buzzed on the tray next to the bed. For a second, my heart jumped. I grabbed it. A message from Ethan. "I'm sorry I didn't come. I can't do this, Mia. I'm not ready to be a dad. You'll be better off without me." My vision blurred. I read it again. And again. The words didn't change. I typed with shaking hands. "You just missed the birth of your son. 3 dots. Then. I'll send money when I can. Don't contact me again." That was it. No congratulations. No, what did we have? Nothing. Just a man slipping out of our lives through a text message. My mom came back in with the baby, her eyes red. She saw the phone in my hand. She didn't ask what he said. She knew. She sat down beside me and kissed my forehead. You have us, she whispered. You have him. We'll figure it out. I looked at my son. His tiny chest rising and falling. I whispered his name for the first time. Liam. My mom smiled weakly. Liam Carter, she said. Strong name. I stared at his face and made a decision. No. Not Carter. She looked confused. But that's. He doesn't deserve to give Liam his name. The words came out like ice. He walked out before Liam even took his first breath. He doesn't get to leave his stamp on him. My mom studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, she said softly. What name then? I thought about it. About all the nights my dad had worked double shifts when I was a kid. About how he never once missed a school play, even if he had to stand in the back in his work uniform, smelling like grease and coffee. My name, I said. Liam Brooks. My mom's eyes filled with tears. He would have liked that, she whispered, thinking of my dad. I held Liam closer. It's just you and me now, I whispered into his soft hair. And I promise you'll never wonder if you were wanted. You are wanted. You are my whole world. The first year was a blur. People love to tell you about the magic of motherhood. They don't tell you about Googling how little sleep can a human survive on at 3 a.m. with dried milk on your shirt and your hair in a permanent messy bun. They don't tell you about staring at an empty crib after a nightmare that he stopped breathing, just to make sure his chest still moves. They definitely don't tell you about sitting in the dark with your phone in your hand, hovering over Ethan's name in your contacts, wondering if sending one more picture of his son might change his mind. I sent 3 pictures in the first month. He never replied. After that, I stopped. I deleted our old messages. I didn't block his number. Blocking felt too final. Leaving it open felt like punishment. For him or for me, I still don't know. When Liam turned 2, he started asking questions. Not the big ones. Not yet. Just small things. Where Dada? The first time he asked, we were in the grocery store. He saw another kid sitting in a cart, his dad pushing it and making car noises. Liam pointed. Dada, he giggled. Then he looked up at me, same word on his lips, but this time it wasn't a name. It was a question. My throat closed. The fluorescent lights buzzed above us. That's his Dada, I said gently. We have Nana. And we have Mama. He seemed satisfied, for that day. But kids grow. Questions grow with them. Life slowly stitched itself back together in small, imperfect ways. I moved back in with my mom for a while, then got a part-time job as a receptionist at a small clinic. They let me bring Liam sometimes when childcare fell through. He charmed all the nurses. When he was 4, he started drawing. Little stick figures, big circles, scribbled houses. One day, he drew a picture and ran to me, eyes shining. Look, Mama. I smiled, ready to praise it without really understanding it. Then I saw it. 3 figures. 1 tall. 1 medium. 1 small. He tapped each one. This Nana, he said proudly, pointing at the tall one. This me. He pointed at the small one. Then his finger hovered over the last figure. This. He frowned. Mama? I suggested softly. He shook his head. No. This is Daddy. The room seemed to tilt for a second. I sat down on the floor next to him. Liam, I said carefully. What do you know about Daddy? He shrugged. Other kids have Daddy. So I make one. He said it so simply. No anger. No sadness. Just logic. Other kids have a dad. So, he invented one. Something broke and healed in me at the same time. When Liam was 5, my mom sat me down at the kitchen table. The same kitchen where my water had broken. Where my old life had ended. "You should think about going back to school," she said. I laughed bitterly. "With what money? With what time? You're smart, Mia. You always wanted to teach. You told me that when you were 10, remember? You lined your stuffed animals up and gave them homework." I remembered. I also remembered student loans, rent, childcare. "It's not realistic," I sighed. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Let me help. I have some savings. You don't have to stay at that front desk forever. Liam deserves to see you happy. Not just surviving." Her words sat with me for days. That night, after Liam fell asleep, I opened my laptop and typed. Night school teaching program near me. 6 months later, I was a student again. Tired, overworked, juggling shifts and assignments, but alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. I studied after Liam went to bed. Quizzes, lesson plans, child psychology. Sometimes he'd wake up and crawl into my lap, nestling his head against my chest while I highlighted textbooks. "You working, Mama?" he'd mumble. "Yeah, baby," I'd whisper. "I'm working. For us." By the time Liam was 6, I had my teaching certification. The day the email came in saying congratulations, I sat on the edge of my bed and sobbed like I'd just given birth again. Different kind of pain. Different kind of joy. I got a job offer from a local elementary school. 4th grade teacher. The pay wasn't amazing, but it was stable. It had benefits. It had a future. Liam danced around the room when I told him. "You teacher now," he shouted. "Like my teacher?" "Something like that," I smiled. "Maybe one day I'll even teach at your school." I said it as a joke. I didn't know how true it would become. Summer went by in a blur of preparing lesson plans, labeling folders, buying cheap but decent-looking work clothes. We moved into a slightly bigger apartment, still small but ours. Liam got a new backpack for 1st grade, blue with little planets on it. He showed everyone. The cashier. The neighbor. The mailman. "I'm going to big school," he announced to anyone who would listen. The night before his first day, he couldn't sleep. He came into my room, dragging his blanket. "Mama, what if nobody likes me?" I pulled him into bed beside me. "Then they're missing out," I said. "You're kind. You're funny. You're smart. Anyone who doesn't like you needs glasses." He giggled. "What if my teacher is mean?" I thought of my own teachers. The ones who saw me. The ones who didn't. "If your teacher is mean," I said, "you tell me. I'll handle it." "You promise?" "I promise." He held out his pinky. We locked fingers. The next morning, the air smelled like coffee and new beginnings. Liam put on his brand new sneakers and his too big backpack. He looked at himself in the mirror, then at me. "Do I look like a 1st grader?" "You look like the coolest 1st grader in the world," I said, trying not to cry. We walked to school hand in hand. Other parents surrounded us, chatting, taking photos, some dads carrying their kids on their shoulders. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel out of place. I felt proud. Proud that we'd made it here. Proud that he was healthy, bright, excited. At the classroom door, he suddenly got shy. "You coming in?" he asked. Just for a second, I smiled. "Then I have to go to work." He nodded. We stepped inside. The classroom smelled like crayons and paper and nervous energy. A few kids were already at their desks. But the teacher's chair at the front was empty. A woman with a staff badge smiled at me from the doorway. "The teacher's just running a couple minutes late," she said. First day nerves hit everyone, even us adults. I laughed politely. Liam sat at a desk in the 2nd row. He turned around and looked up at me. You stay until teacher comes? Of course, I said. I glanced at the clock. 8:02 a.m. Somewhere, in another part of the city, the new staff at my school were probably introducing themselves. I had called in advance and warned them, my son's first day of school. I'll be a bit late. They understood. Sometimes life aligns like that, first day for him, first day for me. I smoothed down Liam's hair. Remember our rule, I said. Be kind. Ask questions. And if you're scared, breathe, he said. And pretend I'm brave until I really am. I smiled. Exactly. I was about to leave when the classroom door opened behind me. A male voice said, "Sorry I'm late, guys. First day chaos, am I right?" Something in my chest went cold. I knew that voice. I knew it in my bones, in my nightmares, in the spaces between my ribs. I turned around slowly. And there he was. Older. A little more tired around the eyes. But unmistakable. Ethan. My ex-husband. The man who had texted me, "I'm not ready to be a dad." Standing at the front of my son's classroom. Wearing a staff lanyard. Holding a stack of folders. Trying to smile. "I'm Mr. Carter," he said to the class. "I'll be your teacher this year." Liam looked from him to me, confused. "Mama," he whispered. "You okay?" My heart pounded in my ears. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. The man who abandoned us had become my son's teacher. And he didn't even know. Not yet. But he was about to learn exactly who was sitting in his classroom. And who the little boy behind me really was. I couldn't breathe. Not because of shock, but because the universe had the audacity to place the man who abandoned us, right in front of my child. My son. His son. Ethan shuffled his papers, completely unaware that fate had dragged him into the one classroom he should have run from. Liam tugged my sleeve. "Mama, why you look funny?" I forced a smile. "I'm okay, baby. I just didn't expect your teacher to be someone I knew." Ethan finally looked up. Really looked. First at me. His eyebrows pulled together. Confusion. Recognition. A spark of panic. My name, barely a whisper. "Mia." My stomach twisted. I didn't answer. Instead, I stood straighter. A mother's spine strengthens in the presence of danger. The classroom aide cleared her throat. Parents, it's time for goodbyes so we can start the morning routine." I leaned down and kissed Liam's forehead. "Have a great first day," I whispered. "You coming back?" he asked. "Always." His little smile steadied me. I walked toward the door, past the aide, past the other parents. Past Ethan. He stepped slightly toward me, voice low and shaky. We need to talk." I didn't even slow down. "No, we don't." My footsteps echoed down the hall. Behind me, I heard him breathe out, long, stunned, shaken. Good. Let him feel even one grain of the panic I carried alone for years. Outside the school, the cool air slapped my face. I leaned against a bench, closed my eyes, and exhaled. 6 years. 6 years of silence. 6 years of raising Liam alone. 6 years of working double shifts, nights, school, diapers, fevers, birthdays. All while he lived his life somewhere else. Now he wanted to talk? No. Not yet. Maybe not ever. My phone buzzed. A number I knew too well. I let it ring out. 30 seconds later, a text. "Ethan, Mia, please don't leave. Please. We need to talk." I blocked the number. For 6 years, he taught me the power of silence. Now he could sit in it. I went to my first day at my new school, but my mind wasn't there. Every time someone said first graders, I flinched. Every time someone mentioned parent pickup, my stomach knotted. What if Ethan said something wrong to Liam? What if he asked questions? What if Liam asked him questions? By lunchtime, my nerves were on fire. By 2 p.m., my foot wouldn't stop tapping. By 3 p.m., when the final bell rang at Liam's school across town, I was already in my car. When I reached the first grade hallway, kids were spilling out, backpacks bouncing, parents waving, chaos everywhere. Then I saw him. Liam. Sitting cross-legged on the floor, building a little tower of erasers. Completely unbothered. Completely safe. Relief hit me so hard my knees almost buckled. He saw me and lit up. Mama. He ran into me, squeezing my waist with both arms. Guess what? He said breathlessly. My teacher knows my name already. I smiled tightly. Oh? And how was he? He nice. He gave me a sticker 'cause I read the sign fast. My throat tightened. Of course Liam liked him. Kids love the ones who hurt us the most. I brushed his hair back. That's great, baby. But before I could say more, I heard footsteps. Slow. Hesitant. Ethan emerged from the classroom doorway. Our eyes locked. Liam looked between us, confused. Mama? You know Mr. Carter? That question. That simple question nearly cracked me open. I knelt down to Liam's level. Baby, go grab your backpack. I'll be right here. He nodded and skipped into the classroom. The second he disappeared inside, Ethan spoke. Mia, how is he in first grade? He's 6 years old? I finished coldly. He swallowed hard. Yeah. Yes, Ethan. 6. As in, the exact number of years since you walked out on us. He winced. Good. Students spilled around us, but Ethan lowered his voice. Mia, I didn't know you had him. You didn't tell me. I laughed. Loud. Sharp. Ugly. Some parents stared. I didn't care. You think I didn't tell you? You think you didn't know? He opened his mouth. I cut him off. You were texting me when I was pushing him into the world. His face drained of color. Mia. He tried to step closer. I stepped back. Don't. For a moment, he looked like the boy I once loved, scared, sorry, small. Then his teacher voice slipped out, too careful, too controlled. I want to be in his life. Rage. Pure, volcanic rage clawed up my throat. I kept my voice steady. Premeditated. Deadly. You don't get to want things now. Liam ran out with his backpack. Mama, look. Mr. Carter gave me homework, but he said it's fun homework. He held up a coloring worksheet like it was treasure. I forced a smile. That's wonderful, baby. Ethan's eyes flicked between us, one pair of blue eyes he recognized, one pair he suddenly saw in himself. My son had his jawline. His eyebrows. His exact crooked half-smile. And Ethan looked like the world had tilted sideways. We left without another word. But before I turned the corner, I glanced back. He was still standing there. Still staring at us. Still realizing. Still breaking. For the first time, I didn't feel weak. I felt powerful. Because he wanted answers. He wanted forgiveness. He wanted access. But for the first time in 6 years, I held all the cards. Of course, the world doesn't let anything stay calm for long. That night, after Liam fell asleep, there was a knock at my door. Soft. Uneven. Like the person on the other side was terrified of being there. I looked through the peephole. Ethan. Holding a stack of papers and shaking hands. Papers with a school logo. Anne. I squinted. A DNA test envelope? My heart slammed into my ribs. This was not a visit I was ready for. Not tonight. Not ever. But fate wasn't going to wait for me to be ready. I opened the door. "What do you want, Ethan?" He swallowed. He held out the envelope like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "Mia. I think he's mine." I stared at him. Cold. Silent. Untouchable. "I know he's yours." He shook his head. "No. I mean, I want to know. For sure." "Then, let me take the test. Please." I didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Didn't speak. I just stared at the man who abandoned my son. Now begging for proof that he existed. And the only thought in my mind was, after everything you did, you think you deserve answers? I stood in the doorway. Ethan stood outside it. Between us lay 6 years of silence, betrayal, absence, and a little boy sleeping in the next room. The man who abandoned me in a hospital bed was now clutching a DNA test request like it was some kind of redemption. I folded my arms. "No." He blinked. Once. Slow. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean no. You don't get to walk into my life after 6 years and start making demands." He exhaled shakily. "Mia. I'm not trying to fight you. I just want to know if he's mine." I stepped forward just enough for him to feel the heat of my anger. "You want to know? He's yours. That's it. End of story." His jaw tightened. "You expect me to just take your word for it?" I laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "You never took my word for anything before. Why start now?" He swallowed. "Mia, please. This isn't about us. It's about him." Something in me snapped. "Don't you dare pretend this is about him." He flinched. "Good." I leaned closer. "If this were about him, you would have been there when he took his first breath." He looked down. I didn't let up. "You would have been there for his first steps, first fever, first birthday, first scraped knee." My voice cracked. "You would have been there for anything." He closed his eyes like my words were hitting him physically. For a moment, the hallway was silent except for the low hum of the building. Then he whispered. I was scared. I stared at him. Scared. He used that word like it excused everything. "I was 26, Mia," he said softly. I felt trapped. Like the world was closing in on me. "And so you ran," I said. He nodded helplessly. "Yeah. I did. I ran. And I've regretted it every day since." I swallowed the lump in my throat. He regretted it? Regret didn't change anything. Regret didn't raise a child. Regret didn't stay up through nights of crying and fevers. Regret didn't pay bills or provide stability. Regret was a luxury. And he'd always had luxuries. "Ethan." I sighed, tired in a way that lived in my bones. "If you want a DNA test, go get one. I'm not stopping you." He looked up sharply. "So you'll let me test Liam?" "Absolutely not." His face fell. "Then how?" "Test yourself." He stared. Confused. "Test, myself?" "Yes." "Swab your own cheek." "Send it in." "I'll send Liam's." "So you will let him take one?" "No. I already did." He froze. I went inside, grabbed a small envelope from the drawer, and returned. I held it up between us. "This is Liam's DNA profile from 2 years ago. The clinic offered it as part of his allergy testing." I kept it. He stared at the envelope like it was some forbidden artifact. You already have his DNA report?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I'm a single mother. I prepare for everything." He took a slow breath. "Mia, thank you. I snatched the envelope back before he could touch it. Don't thank me. This isn't for you. This is for Liam. He looked crushed. Good. You'll get a copy of his profile after I verify your test is legit. Not before. He nodded shakily. Okay. That's fair. No, I corrected. It's generous. He exhaled through his nose, defeated. What about seeing him? Talking to him? Anything? I stared at him. Unblinking. Absolutely not. His voice cracked. He's my son. That sentence. Those 3 words. They ignited something volcanic inside me. You do not get to say that. But. No. You lost that right when you left me alone in a hospital room. His eyes filled with shame. Or maybe fear. Maybe both. So what then? He whispered. What am I allowed to do? I stepped back into my apartment and began to close the door. Take your test, I said quietly. And stay away from my son. The door clicked shut. For the first time in 6 years, Ethan Carter stood on the other side of a door he didn't get to walk through. He didn't leave right away. I heard him press his forehead to the door and whisper. I'm sorry, Mia. But I didn't let myself feel it. Sorry was a word for spilled milk. Not for abandoned families. The next morning, I woke up to a new message. From a number I didn't recognize. But I knew who it was. Unknown, I sent the sample in. Short. Clean. No excuses. Then a second message. Unknown, I'll respect your boundaries. Please, just let me know when the results come. I didn't reply. I didn't block him either. I just stared at the words. Something about them felt different. Not hopeful. Not forgiving. Just real. Like he wasn't walking away this time. Life moved on. I had work. Liam had school. Every day, he came home talking about Mr. Carter like he was a superhero. Mr. Carter says I'm good at reading. Mr. Carter let me feed the class fish. Mr. Carter asked what my favorite animal is. Every sentence was a knife. But I smiled. Because Liam deserved happiness, even if the source of it burned me. Then, exactly 1 week later, an email arrived. Subject line. DNA results available. My hand shook as I opened it. 2 percentages. 2 names. 2 undeniable truths. And one result that would change everything. Ethan Carter. Paternal match, 99.98%. There it was. Cold. Scientific. Absolute. He was the father. I knew it. I'd always known. But seeing it written. Something inside me cracked open. Because now, the battle I'd avoided for 6 years was coming straight toward me. Whether I wanted it or not. My phone buzzed. Ethan. Unknown, did you get the results? I didn't answer. Unknown, please, Mia. I just want to know. Still nothing. Then. Unknown, is he mine? I typed slowly. Each word a stone in my chest. Me, yes. Seconds later, he replied. Unknown, then please, let me see him. I stared at the message. My heart hammered. My mind screamed. My hand shook. Because I knew one thing with absolute clarity. The moment I let Ethan into Liam's life, there would be no going back. I didn't respond immediately. I couldn't. Because the moment Ethan saw that single word, yes, his entire world expanded. And mine tightened. Let him see him? Let him speak to him? Let him step into the life he abandoned? I wasn't ready. But the universe didn't care. It kept moving. That morning, I drove Liam to school. He talked nonstop, kicking his feet in the back seat. "Mama, Mr. Carter says I read better than most kids in class." My stomach twisted. Of course he did. "That's great, baby. Can I give him my drawing today? The one of the planets?" The air left my lungs. "Your drawing?" "Yeah. I want to give it to him. He likes space too." The innocence in his voice stabbed me. He had no idea he was drawing pictures for the man who ran from him before he could take his first breath. I kept my voice steady. "Sure, sweetheart. You can give it to him." He smiled, swinging his legs. Kids never realize how many battles their parents fight silently. When we reached school, Liam hopped out and ran ahead. I followed slowly, trying to calm my nerves. Because I knew Ethan would be there. And I was right. He was standing by the classroom door, greeting kids, forcing a smile. But when he saw me, something in his face cracked. Guilt. Fear. Hope. All tangled together. I didn't approach him. I didn't speak. I didn't even nod. I simply kissed Liam goodbye and walked away. But just as I turned, I heard Liam's little voice behind me. "Mr. Carter. I made this for you." I froze mid-step. I shouldn't have listened. I should have kept walking. But I stood still. Listening. Ethan crouched down. "For me?" "Yeah. I made the planets. This one's Jupiter. It's the biggest." Liam giggled proudly. "And Ethan?" Ethan's voice broke. "It's amazing, Liam. Thank you." There was a pause. A long, painful pause. I didn't have to see his face to know he was swallowing emotion. Nobody's ever made me something like this. My chest tightened. This was dangerous. Not just for Liam. For Ethan. And for me. Because he wasn't faking it. He wasn't performing. He meant every word. I walked away fast, before I did something stupid like soften. But my hands trembled the entire drive. That evening, while I cooked dinner, my phone vibrated. Ethan. I almost ignored it. But something, maybe exhaustion, maybe inevitability, made me swipe open. "Ethan, I won't push you. But I want to talk. When you're ready." I stared at his message for a long time. I didn't answer. But I didn't block him. That was its own kind of answer. The next day, something unexpected happened. I was called into the school's main office during lunch period. When I arrived, the principal, a sharp, professional woman named Mrs. Greeley, gestured for me to sit. Her expression was too careful. My stomach dropped. "Is everything okay?" I asked. She folded her hands. "I need to discuss something sensitive with you, regarding your son's teacher." My heart stopped. "Mr. Carter?" "Yes." She took a breath. "Several staff members noticed tension between you two yesterday." He seemed visibly shaken after morning drop-off. I cursed internally. I hadn't even spoken to him. But evidently, my restraint had the opposite effect. "We're very serious about professional boundaries," she continued. "If there's a personal history between you and Mr. Carter, we need to address it immediately." My mouth went dry. If the school learned Ethan was Liam's father, before I decided how to handle this, it could force involvement I wasn't ready for. It could open doors I spent 6 years keeping shut. "There's no conflict," I said quickly. "We knew each other years ago. That's all." Her eyes narrowed slightly. She didn't believe me. "Ms. Brooks," she said gently, "your son's well-being is our top priority. If there's anything at all, that could affect the classroom environment, I need you to tell me." I hesitated. Because this was the moment. This was where everything could tip. I inhaled slowly. "He won't be a problem," I said. "I promise." She studied me. And then nodded. Very well. But I want you to know my door is open. For anything. Anything meant custody concerns. Anything meant disclosure. Anything meant oversight. I left the office shaken. Because the school was now watching. One wrong move from either of us could trigger an investigation. That afternoon, Ethan approached me at pickup. He didn't touch me. He didn't block my path. He simply stood beside me, hands in his pockets, voice low. I talked to the principal. My blood ran cold. About what? She asked if I was okay. I said yes. Relief flickered through me. Good. But Mia, we can't avoid this forever. Watch me. He shook his head. He deserves the truth. He deserves stability, I snapped. Not a stranger walking and claiming to be his father. He winced but didn't step back. I won't barge in. I won't demand anything. But we need to talk soon. Not for me, for him. My throat tightened. He wasn't wrong. And that made everything harder. Before I could answer, Liam burst out of the classroom. Mama. Mr. Carter says I'm really good at math. He hugged me around the waist, then turned to Ethan proudly. I told Mama you're my favorite teacher. My heart cracked. Ethan's eyes softened. Then he whispered, barely audible. I wish I'd been around to hear that sooner. I looked away. I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't ready for him. I wasn't ready for the storm that was coming. Because I could feel it now. A shift in the air. A gathering pressure. Something was about to break, not just between me and Ethan. But in the school. In Liam's world. In mine. And then that night, the real twist hit. At 11:42 p.m., my phone buzzed. A message from Liam's school. A formal notice. A staff update. My eyes widened as I read the headline. Teacher reassignment effective immediately. The email continued. Mr. Ethan Carter has been temporarily removed from classroom duty pending review. My heart pounded. Removed? Review? What happened? At the bottom was a note. This action is in response to a confidential concern raised earlier today. My stomach flipped. There was only one person who could have reported anything today. Ethan. Or someone who overheard us. Someone who saw us. Or a parent noticing something in the classroom. A staff member sensing the tension. A system bigger than both of us starting to move. And for the first time since he reappeared, I felt fear. Not of Ethan. But of what this meant for Liam. Because the twist was now clear. The school system might force a conversation we weren't ready to have. I barely slept. The email about Ethan's reassignment kept replaying in my head like a warning siren. Temporarily removed from classroom duty pending review. Removed. Reviewed. Investigated. My stomach twisted. This wasn't good. Not for Ethan. Not for Liam. Not for me. By morning, I was exhausted, the kind of exhaustion that settles behind your ribs and waits to drag you under. Liam, of course, noticed nothing. He bounded into the kitchen, hair messy, pajamas twisted, eyes bright. Mama, can we get pancakes today? I forced a smile. Sure, baby. I would have bought him the whole diner if it kept him from seeing the fear in my face. When we got to school, Liam ran ahead as always. But something was different. Parents whispered near the entrance. The secretary's smile looked strained. Teachers avoided eye contact. My heart dropped straight into my shoes. Something had happened. Something big. And I had no idea what. When I reached Liam's hallway, I immediately noticed the substitute teacher, a younger woman, overly cheerful, reading off a clipboard like she'd only been assigned 5 minutes earlier. Liam stopped mid-step. Where's Mr. Carter? The substitute brightened unnaturally. Mr. Carter is out today. But I'll be your teacher. Isn't that exciting? Liam's eyes filled with confusion. Then disappointment. Then a sadness that hit me deeper than it should have. But I made him more drawings. My heart fractured. I knelt down and cupped his face. It's okay, sweetheart. You can give them to him later. He nodded slowly, clutching the papers tighter. But I could see his little chest rising faster, the beginning of anxiety he didn't have the words to express yet. I walked him inside, my throat tight. I told myself I'd hold it together. But the moment I stepped back into the hallway. Ms. Brooks? I turned. The principal stood there. Expression unreadable. Voice firm. I need you to come with me. My pulse spiked. Is this about Mr. Carter? She didn't answer. She simply gestured for me to follow. That silence was worse than any yes. We entered her office. She closed the door. Sat behind her desk. Carefully folded her hands. Professional posture, the kind used for legal conversations. Ms. Brooks, we've received a report. I stiffened. A report about what? Her eyes met mine. About you. My breath caught. Me? She nodded. A staff member overheard a tense exchange yesterday during dismissal. They were concerned there may be a custody issue involving a child in this school. My heart slammed. A custody issue. They thought I was withholding Liam illegally. This could destroy everything I built. That's not. I swallowed. That is not what's happening. She lifted a folder. We also received a complaint stating you may have a personal conflict with Mr. Carter that could affect the educational environment. I froze. A complaint? Filed today? She continued. The concern was serious enough that, for safety and neutrality, Mr. Carter has been temporarily removed from class while we sort this out. My breath left me. My knees nearly buckled. Because suddenly, I understood. Ethan didn't file anything. Someone else did. And worse. Someone misinterpreted everything. But who? A teacher? A parent? Another staff member who saw us arguing? Or someone who saw Liam hug Ethan? Someone who saw Ethan's face when he recognized me? Someone who saw the tension but didn't know the story? And assumed the worst? The principal leaned forward. Ms. Brooks, if there is a custody dispute or any legal conflict regarding a parent's right to know their child, you must disclose that to us. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Words refused to form. Because the truth was impossible to explain cleanly. How do you summarize abandonment, labor, 6 years of silence, and a DNA test in one sentence? But if I didn't say something, the school could escalate. Courts could get involved. They could even demand proof of Liam's parentage. Proof I already had, and proof Ethan now also had. This situation was spiraling fast, faster than I could control. I inhaled shakily. There is no custody dispute. She raised a brow. But there is a history between you and Mr. Carter? Silence. Deadly. Heavy. Unavoidable. Yes, I whispered. There is. Is he Liam's father? My entire body went cold. This was the question I had been running from. The question I knew would eventually come. And the question that could unravel everything. I swallowed. Biologically, yes. Her jaw tightened. And has this school ever been informed? No. A long, heavy silence filled the room. Then she said the words I dreaded most. Ms. Brooks, we cannot legally allow a biological parent to be hidden from school records. My vision blurred. He hasn't been in Liam's life. He has no rights. Not unless a court has terminated those rights, she said quietly. Do you have documentation? My breath stopped. I didn't. I never filed anything. Never needed to. Never thought this day would come. Ms. Brooks, until this is clarified, we are required to follow protocol. I felt the world tilt. What protocol? Her next words shattered me. We must notify the biological father that he has a right to access school information, unless it's proven dangerous. My heartbeat roared in my ears. Because only one person had that right. Only one man. And now the school was about to hand it to him on a silver platter. I stood. Shaking. Angry. Terrified. He abandoned us. He left me in labor. He never visited. Never paid. Never asked. He doesn't deserve anything. She held up a hand gently. Ms. Brooks. I sympathize. Truly. But legality doesn't work on emotion. If he is the biological father, the school is obligated to inform him of his rights unless a court order says otherwise. My chest constricted. Please don't do this, I whispered. Please. Her expression softened. But her voice did not. I don't have a choice. When I left her office, I didn't go to my car. I didn't go to work. I didn't even go home. I went to the bench outside. Sat down. Put my face in my hands. And cried. For the first time in years, truly cried. Because the life I built for Liam. The safety I created. The world I protected. Was about to change. Not because Ethan demanded it. Not because I allowed it. But because the system forced it. I wiped my tears. And then my phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. Can we talk today? It's urgent. Before I could reply, another message came. The school called me. My heart dropped. Then the next line arrived. And it was the line that changed everything. They told me I might have rights. And, Mia, I don't want to fight you. But I do want to be in his life. A tear slid down my cheek. Not from weakness. Not from heartbreak. From pure, crushing fear. Because now I finally understood. Ethan wasn't walking away this time. And the law wasn't going to let me keep running. I didn't answer Ethan. Not right away. His message sat on my screen like a trap I couldn't escape. I don't want to fight you. But I do want to be in his life. The law. The school. The DNA results. His new rights. Everything was pressing in at once. For years, I held the door shut. Now the world was prying it open with crowbars. I called my mom. She answered on the second ring. Mia? What's wrong? I didn't even form words. I just breathed. Broken. Panicked. He wants rights, I whispered. The line went quiet. Then. Come home. Now. She made tea like she always did during crises. Tea that tasted like childhood and safety. I sat at her kitchen table, twisting the mug in my hands. Mom, what if I lose him? Her eyes sharpened. Lose Liam? Over my dead body. Not lose him like that, I said weakly. Lose the life we built. Her shoulders softened. She sat beside me. Listen. That man may be the biological father, but he is not the parent. You are. But the law. The law cares about the child's best interest. I shook my head. What if the court decides his best interest is two parents? She hesitated. Because she knew. I knew. Everyone knew. Courts love two parents. Even flawed ones. Before she could reassure me, my phone buzzed again. This time a different message. From the school. I read it aloud. We need you to attend a meeting with Mr. Carter tomorrow morning regarding parental acknowledgement forms. My stomach twisted. Parental acknowledgement. The form that officially recognizes someone as a parent in school records. If Ethan signed that. If I didn't contest it. Everything would change. I'd have to share decisions. Share authority. Share my son. My heart throbbed painfully. Mom. I'm not ready. She squeezed my hand. Then prepare. Because you're walking into a battlefield. That night was silent. Too silent. Liam slept early, worn out from the change of teachers, and I just sat by his door, listening to him breathe. 6 years. 6 years of choices, sacrifices, nights awake, fears faced alone. 6 years of being enough. And now, a few signatures could rewrite all of it. I pressed my forehead against the wall and cried quietly. I promised Liam he would never feel abandoned. But I never promised I wouldn't feel terrified. The next morning, the school felt colder. Parents chattered. Kids ran around laughing. Normal. But my world wasn't normal anymore. I walked in and found Ethan standing outside the meeting room. Hands clasped. Teacher badge missing. Eyes tired. For once, he looked human. Not the man who left. Not the man who reappeared. Just a man who didn't know where to put his hands. When he saw me, he inhaled sharply. Mia, thank you for coming. My voice was flat. I didn't have a choice. He flinched. Good. Inside, the principal sat with a stack of forms. Legal forms. Custody forms. Access forms. All the things I never wanted to see. Thank you both for being here, she began. We need to clarify parental rights for Liam's safety and compliance. Her words echoed in my head. Liam's safety. I would set fire to the world if it meant keeping him safe. She slid a document toward me. Ms. Brooks, this section identifies current guardians. Then she slid a second form toward Ethan. Mr. Carter, this section is for biological confirmation. He didn't look at me. Just signed where she pointed. His signature. Black ink. Next to father. The word felt like a slap. Then came the worst part. Now we need to determine access. Both of you may state your position. My breath hitched. This was the moment. The moment everything could shift. I opened my mouth. But Ethan spoke first. I want supervised access. My head snapped toward him. Supervised? He continued. I know I left. I know I hurt both of them. I don't expect full rights, not now. But I'd like to be able to see him. In a controlled environment. Where he feels safe. The principal nodded, impressed. I stared. This wasn't the man I knew. He wasn't demanding. He wasn't blaming. He wasn't trying to bulldoze his way in. He was humbled. Regretful. Willing to take responsibility. It shook me. But I kept my voice firm. I want very limited access. And nothing changes in school. He nodded immediately. No fight. No pushback. Okay. Whatever you need. His quick agreement unsettled me even more. He wasn't playing victim. He wasn't trying to be a hero. He wasn't manipulating. He was sincere. And I didn't know how to handle sincerity from him. The principal stamped a temporary agreement. We'll finalize details after district review. For now, supervised visits can begin next week. My pulse spiked. Next week? Too soon. Too dangerous. Too real. Ethan stood. Thank you, Mia. Truly. His voice broke. A tear slipped down his cheek. Not a performative tear. A quiet, ashamed one. He wiped it quickly. Left the room. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger watching him go. I felt something worse. Something far more dangerous. Uncertainty. On my way to Liam's classroom, the substitute teacher approached me. "Are you Liam's mom?" "Yes." She smiled. But it wasn't the warm kind. It was the "I know something" kind. "Your son had a difficult morning." My stomach tightened. Difficult how? Her expression softened. For real this time. He asked for Mr. Carter, and when I told him he wasn't coming back yet, he cried. My breath left my body. "I'm sorry," she added quickly. I comforted him. But he seemed confused. Like something important is missing. Something important. She didn't know the half of it. I stepped into the classroom. And there he was. My son. My baby. Sitting at his desk, clutching the planet drawing he meant to give Ethan yesterday. Tears dried on his cheeks. His lip trembling. When he saw me, he whispered, "Mama, why did my teacher leave?" My knees weakened. I knelt beside his desk. "Liam. Mr. Carter, he had to take some time away." He frowned. "But he promised to help me with my reading today." My heart shattered. "I know, sweetheart. I know." He leaned into my shoulder. And then he whispered the sentence I was never prepared for. "Did he leave because of me?" I froze. Every part of me. Every cell. Every breath. Because in that moment, the real danger didn't come from the school. Or the law. Or Ethan. It came from the one thing I couldn't control. My son's heart. Liam didn't talk on the drive home. Not a word. He held his planet drawing on his lap, staring at it like he was trying to solve a puzzle only grown-ups understood. When we got inside, he slipped off his shoes, walked to his room, and closed the door gently. That was worse than slamming it. Silence from a child is never silence. It's pressure. It's a warning. It's hurt simmering under tiny ribs. I waited a minute, then knocked softly. "Baby? Can I come in?" No answer. My heart cracked. I opened the door anyway. He was sitting on the floor. Cross-legged. Back slumped. Tears on his cheeks he didn't bother wiping. I knelt beside him. "Liam, talk to me. Please." He looked up slowly. His voice was tiny. "Did I do something bad?" The air left my lungs. "What?" "No. Never." "Then why did Mr. Carter go away?" My stomach dropped. "Sweetheart, he didn't leave because of you. Grown-up things happened." He shook his head. But he was happy. He smiled at me. Then he left. That means I did something wrong. I felt my chest tighten painfully. Kids don't understand adult chaos. They only understand patterns. Someone shows up. Connects with them. Leaves suddenly. It doesn't look like adult responsibility or legal conflict. It looks like rejection. I pulled him into my lap. "Liam, you didn't do anything wrong." "I promise." "Are you sure?" he whispered. "Because every time I like someone, they go away." Those words cut straight through me. Because he was right. A babysitter he adored moved out of state. A neighbor he liked passed away. A cousin he bonded with only visited twice a year. And now, Ethan. His teacher. His favorite teacher. The one he trusted. The one he unknowingly shared DNA with. Tears burned in my eyes. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry." His voice trembled. "Mama, am I too much?" My hand flew to my mouth. A sob escaped before I could stop it. "No. Never. You are perfect. You are everything." He cried into my sweater. I held him like he was slipping through my fingers. That night, after he fell asleep beside me, Still trembling from the leftover fear, I walked into the hallway and collapsed against the wall. My hands shaking. My breathing sharp. I realized something. This wasn't just my trauma anymore. It was his. And as much as I hated Ethan, as much as I resented his sudden return, Liam's pain wasn't caused by losing a father. It was caused by losing a teacher unexpectedly. A figure he trusted. A figure he admired. A figure he didn't know was the man who abandoned him. It was the absence, not the DNA, that hurt him. And I couldn't fix this alone. That terrified me more than anything. My phone buzzed. Ethan. Again. I almost ignored it. But then I remembered Liam's trembling voice. Every time I like someone, they go away. My hand moved on its own. I answered. But I didn't speak. Neither did he. For several seconds, we just breathed, both of us knowing exactly why, exactly how far things had gone. Finally, he whispered. Is he okay? Something in me cracked. Not forgiveness. Not sympathy. Just honesty. No. He isn't. I could hear the panic hit him. What happened? He cried, I said quietly. He thinks he did something wrong. Ethan inhaled sharply. God. Mia. He thinks people leave because of him. Silence. A long, painful silence. Then Ethan's voice broke in a way I'd never heard. Not even years ago. Please. Let me apologize. Let me explain something to him. Anything. I closed my eyes. You can't talk to him yet. The school won't allow it. I won't allow it. Not now. He didn't protest. Didn't argue. Just whispered. Then what can I do? I hesitated. Not because I didn't know the answer. But because saying it meant acknowledging the truth. Liam was hurting in a way only one person could help ease. You can write something, I said finally. A note. For him to read. Something simple. Something safe. Ethan swallowed audibly. I'll write it tonight. Thank you, Mia. I ended the call without another word. For the first time since he reappeared. He wasn't trying to save face. Or fight. Or defend himself. He was just trying to help Liam. And I hated how much that mattered. The next morning, after I brushed Liam's hair and packed his lunch, I found him sitting on the couch, holding his drawing again. He looked up at me. Eyes a little less puffy. Mama, will Mr. Carter come back? I took a breath. The truth stuck in my throat. Not today. Tomorrow? I'm not sure. He looked down. Then, softly. I miss him. My heart twisted violently. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A new message. From Ethan. A picture of a handwritten letter. Neat. Careful. Intentional. It read. Hi Liam. I'm sorry I couldn't come to school yesterday. You did nothing wrong. You are a great kid. I am proud of you. I'll see you again when the grown-ups say it's okay. Keep being amazing. Mr. Carter. I stared at the words. Simple. Safe. Perfect. The kind of message a teacher would send. Not a father. Not yet. A teacher who understood a child's heart. A teacher who didn't want to vanish again. I printed it. Folded it. Walked to the living room. And handed it to my son. Liam unfolded it. Read it slowly. And for the first time since yesterday. He smiled. A small smile. A fragile smile. But a real one. He hugged the paper to his chest. He didn't leave because of me. I knelt down and wrapped him in my arms. Never because of you, I whispered. Never. But as I held him, I realized something that chilled me. Ethan was slowly becoming someone Liam needed. Not by force. Not by law. Not by DNA. By showing up in the one way Liam understood. Kindness. And that scared me. Because kindness is dangerous. Kindness builds trust. Kindness can heal. And kindness can break a boundary faster than anything. This was no longer about courts or rights. It was about my son's heart. And how close Ethan was getting to it. Ethan didn't call again. Didn't text. Didn't push. For 3 days, he stayed silent. Not the abandonment silence of 6 years ago. This was a different silence. A waiting silence. A respectful one. I hated that I noticed the difference. But I did. On the 4th day, the school asked both of us to come in for a final clarification meeting regarding the temporary supervised access. Just hearing the words made my stomach twist. Supervised access. Access to who? My son. The son I raised alone. But this time, instead of panic, I felt something else. Resolve. My son would never be unsafe. Not emotionally. Not physically. Not legally. And I would make sure of it. When I arrived at the school, Ethan was already there. Leaning against the wall. Hands in his pockets. Looking at the floor. He didn't perk up when he saw me. Didn't smile. Didn't speak. He just straightened. A quiet, almost humbled movement. Mia. I nodded. Cold. Controlled. Present. Ethan. Silence stretched between us. Not angry. Not bitter. Just heavy. Finally he said. Can we talk after the meeting? Please. I wanted to say no. Wanted to keep running. Wanted to stay in the safety of walls I built myself. But then I remembered Liam's words. Every time I like someone, they go away. And I couldn't let my mistakes become his patterns. So I nodded. Just once. And that nod changed everything. The meeting was short. Bureaucratic. Clinical. A counselor went over emotional guidelines. The principal reviewed the district policy. A social worker briefly explained child-centered visitation. We signed the forms. No drama. No argument. No accusations. When it ended, Ethan walked out first. I followed. We stepped into the courtyard behind the school, where little kids usually played tag, but today it was empty. Cold air. Soft breeze. Muted sunlight. A perfect backdrop for a conversation 6 years overdue. He faced me. Eyes steady. Voice quiet. Mia, tell me everything. All of it. No filters. No fear. I deserve whatever you need to say. I stared at him. The man who left me. The man who broke me. The man who now wanted the truth. I didn't ease into it. I didn't cushion it. I didn't protect him. I spoke the way the moment demanded. Sharp. Raw. Literal. You left me while I was in labor. His breath caught. I know. No, I snapped. You don't know. You don't know anything. He swallowed hard. I continued. Do you know what contractions feel like, Ethan? Do you know what it's like to scream into a pillow because the father of your child won't answer his phone? He flinched. I didn't let him breathe. Do you know what it's like to beg a nurse to check your phone because your hands are shaking too hard to type? His shoulders tensed. Do you know what it felt like, I whispered, to push a whole human being into the world while the person who promised to love me walked out the door? His eyes filled with tears. Mia. You left me alone, I said sharply. In a hospital bed. Bleeding. scared. And hours after our son was born, you texted me that you couldn't do this? He wiped his face with the back of his hand. But the tears kept coming. And seeing him cry didn't bring satisfaction. It brought a deeper ache. Because I realized that for 6 years, I held all the memories. All the pain. All the images. He held nothing. I carried it alone. And now I was finally putting it down. He whispered. Mia. I was broken back then. I was stupid. I was scared. And I regret it every day. Every single day. I stared at him. Fear doesn't make leaving okay. He nodded slowly. I know. I know that now. I swear I do. His voice cracked. I didn't leave because of you. Or him. I left because of me. Because I was weak. Because I didn't know how to be anything other than a kid pretending to be a man. I inhaled sharply. You could have come back. He nodded, tears streaming silently. I know. I should have. I thought about it. So many times. But the longer I stayed gone, the more I thought I didn't deserve to come back. I blinked. The honesty hit me in a way I wasn't prepared for. He continued, voice shaking. I thought you and Liam were better off without me. Because who wants a coward for a father? My eyes stung. Because that was the exact fear that haunted me too. Having a coward for a father. Having no father at all. A lose-lose. For Liam. For all children of broken beginnings. He took a shaky breath. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking to be a dad overnight. I want to be someone who doesn't hurt him anymore. My hands trembled. Not with anger. With the weight of everything he said, and everything I carried alone. I opened my mouth to respond. Then heard a soft sound behind us. A sniff. A tiny gasp. We froze. Turned slowly. And there he was. Liam. Standing a few feet away. Backpack on one shoulder. Eyes wide. Face pale. Tears gathering. He had heard. He had heard everything. My heart stopped. His voice was barely audible. Mama. Mr. Carter, what does all that mean? My breath caught. Ethan's face crumpled. Liam stepped closer, tears spilling now. You said grown-ups were fighting. But you were talking about me. About when I was a baby. About a daddy. His voice broke on the last word. I reached for him. Liam. He stepped back. Not angry. Just overwhelmed. Confused. Hurt. Mama, is Mr. Carter my dad? The world fell silent. Everything froze. My breath. Ethan's tears. Liam's trembling hands. This was it. The moment I feared more than anything. Not the law. Not the school. Not the past. This. My child asking a question I wasn't ready to answer. I opened my mouth. No words came. My throat closed. My heart crashed. Liam sobbed. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't anyone tell me? I reached for him again. This time he let me. Collapsed into my arms. Shaking. Crying. A sound that felt like knives under my ribs. And the worst part? Ethan stepped forward. Then stopped. Stopped himself. Hands trembling. Face broken. Because he knew. This pain was the cost of his choices. And nothing he said now would undo it. Liam cried in my arms for a long time. Not loud tears. Not angry tears. The quiet, heartbreaking kind. The kind that come from confusion and fear. His small hands clutched my sweater. His breathing hitched. He kept whispering. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? And every time he said it, something inside me broke all over again. When his sobs finally softened, I lifted him gently. Baby, let's go home. He nodded against my shoulder. Still trembling. Still hurting. But with the trust only a child has for their mother. I carried him inside the school, walked past the teachers, past the students, past the questions burning on every adult's tongue. Ethan followed several feet behind. Silently. Head down. Hands shaking. Not trying to interfere. Not trying to grab space that wasn't his. Just following like someone walking behind the wreckage they caused. We reached the parking lot. Liam lifted his head from my shoulder. His eyes were red. Wet. But focused. On Ethan. Are you my dad? His voice was hoarse and small. A whisper that weighed more than anything I had ever heard. Ethan swallowed. His voice cracked. Yes. A single word. Quiet. Bare. True. Liam didn't look angry. Or surprised. He just looked. Lost. Then, why did you leave? Ethan inhaled sharply. A sound like pain being ripped out of him. I made a terrible mistake, he whispered. The worst mistake of my life. And I'm so sorry. Liam stared at him. Then buried his face in my shoulder again. I held him tighter. Not because I wanted to keep him away from Ethan. Because I wanted to keep the world away from him. I carried him into the car. Buckled him in. Closed the door gently. When I turned around, Ethan was standing a few steps away. He looked wrecked. Eyes red. Jaw trembling. A grown man shattered by the truth his child finally heard. Mia. I'm so sorry he heard it like that. There was no good way for him to hear it, I said. He nodded. Then. Can I say something to him? My body tensed. Not out of anger. Out of fear. Liam was fragile right now. Raw. Exposed. But a small part of me. A mother part. Knew that unanswered questions hurt more than hard truths. So I nodded once. 1 minute. Don't promise him anything you can't keep. He nodded, wiping his face. I opened the car door. Liam looked up. Eyes puffy. Baby. Mr. Carter wants to talk to you. Ethan crouched beside the door. He didn't reach in. Didn't touch him. Didn't assume the right. Just spoke softly. Liam. I didn't leave because of you. You didn't do anything wrong. Ever. Liam blinked. Silent tears. Ethan continued. I left because I was scared. But I never should have. And I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just here. His voice broke. If you ever want to talk, if you ever want to ask anything, I'll be here. Only if you want me to. Liam whispered. Okay. Not acceptance. Not forgiveness. Just a small door cracked open. For the first time. When we got home, Liam fell asleep instantly, emotional exhaustion knocking him out. I sat beside him, stroking his hair. Watching his tiny chest rise and fall. He looked so peaceful. Fragile. Precious. And I knew, in that moment, that every decision I made next had to protect him, not my pride, not my resentment, not my old wounds. Him. Just him. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. Ethan. I hesitated. Then answered. He didn't say hello. He just breathed shakily and said. If you want me gone, I'll go. I froze. He continued. You can tell the school you changed your mind. You can tell the court you don't think it's in Liam's best interest. And I'll step back. I'll stay away. Forever. My heart twisted. It was everything I once wanted. Everything I used to fantasize about. A clean exit. A simple ending. No complications. Just me and my son. Safe. Untouchable. But now I had heard my son whisper. Every time I like someone, they go away. Now I had seen him cry. Did I do something wrong? Now I had watched him look at Ethan with confusion, hope, fear, pain, all at once. And I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to feel. Liam didn't just lose a father 6 years ago. He was losing one now. And I couldn't let my pain become his burden. Not again. Not like this. My voice was quiet. Soft. But steady. Ethan. I don't want you gone. Silence. I could hear his breath stop. But, I added, I don't want you here the way you think, either. He exhaled. Broken. Relieved. Confused. Tell me what you mean. I swallowed. Choosing my words with care. A mother's precision. A survivor's precision. You will not be his full-time father. He nodded slowly. Okay. You will not have unsupervised access. Another nod. Okay. You will not disrupt his life. Or confuse him. Or make promises you can't keep. He pressed his lips together. Nodded again. I won't. But, if he asks for you, if he wants to see you, we will arrange supervised visits. Controlled. Predictable. Safe. I heard him inhale shakily. A fragile breath. Thank you, he whispered. Not triumphant. Not entitled. Just grateful. And then, softly. I don't deserve even that. He was right. But deserving wasn't the point anymore. Liam was. I closed my eyes. This doesn't erase anything, Ethan. It just gives Liam a chance to heal. Slowly. Carefully. His voice broke. I'll take any chance you give me. I hung up before emotion could swallow me. That night, after I put my phone down, I walked back to Liam's room. He was still asleep. Curled on his side. One tiny hand clutching Mr. Carter's note. My heart cracked at the sight. But it didn't break. Not this time. This time, it felt like something was mending. Not between me and Ethan. But between Liam and the truth. The truth that had been waiting 6 years to surface. The truth that now had a place to breathe. And I realized something important. This story wouldn't end wrapped in forgiveness. It would end wrapped in boundaries, protection, and honesty. Not perfect. Not clean. But real. And sometimes, real is enough. 3 weeks passed. Carefully. Quietly. Slowly. Life settled into a new routine, not comfortable, but survivable. Liam was still gentle with himself, recovering from the emotional shock. Sometimes he woke up at night and asked, Mama, is Mr. Carter gone forever? And I would hold him, whispering, No, sweetheart. He's here. He's not going away again. Other nights, he would ask quieter questions, ones that sliced through me. Why didn't he want me before? Was I too little? Did he forget me? And each time, I told him the truth. You were perfect. You were always wanted. He was the one who didn't know how to love yet. Liam listened. Somber. Soft. Thinking deeper than a 6-year-old should ever have to think. But little by little, he healed. A week later, the first supervised visit took place. Not at a court building. Not at a park. Not at my house. But at the school library, safe ground, neutral ground, familiar ground. Liam sat at a little table, coloring a picture of planets again. Ethan entered quietly. Not as a father. Not as a teacher. Just as someone trying to earn the right to stay. He didn't rush to Liam. He didn't scoop him up. He didn't cry or overcompensate. He simply knelt beside him and said, "Hi, Liam." Liam looked up. Eyes cautious at first. Then hopeful. Then small, soft joy. "Hi." He held out a crayon. "Can you help me with Saturn?" Ethan's eyes glistened. "Yeah. I'd like that." And just like that, something fragile but real formed between them. Not fatherhood. Not yet. Just connection. A small beginning. A small chance. A small good. The visits continued once a week. Always supervised. Always gentle. Always slow. They read books. Built puzzles. Talked about space. Never about the past. Never about hurt. Never about fear. Liam didn't ask difficult questions anymore. Not yet. Not with Ethan. He saved those for me. But he started smiling more. Laughing more. Sleeping easier. He was healing. Even if the adults weren't. One afternoon, on their 5th supervised visit, Liam did something unexpected. He stood up from the table, walked to the window, and looked outside thoughtfully. Then he turned to Ethan and asked, "Are you gonna be my dad now?" Ethan froze. The social worker supervising stiffened. My heart hammered. But Ethan didn't look at me. He looked at Liam. And for the first time, I saw a man fully aware of his limits, and the consequences of what he'd lost. His voice was soft. Steady. Mature. "I would like to be someone in your life who cares about you. Someone you can trust." Liam blinked. "A dad?" Ethan shook his head slowly. Tears gathering. "Not yet. Not until you're ready. And not without your mom's rules." I breathed out. So did the social worker. Liam blinked again. Processing. Then he nodded. "Okay. Just okay. Simple. Gentle. Enough." After the visit, as I buckled Liam into the car, he said something that almost made my knees buckle. "Mama. I like him. But I don't want him to live with us." I swallowed. "He won't, sweetheart." "Good," he whispered. "I want him near, but not too near." And that was the heart of the bittersweet ending right there. Children know what adults struggle to say. Safety first. Closeness slowly. Distance where needed. He didn't want a replacement. He didn't want a perfect dad. He just wanted presence without upheaval. Stability. Boundaries. Love that doesn't hurt. 2 weeks later came the final emotional moment of closure. It was the evening of the school's annual fall showcase, a small event with crafts and music. Liam sang with his class, smiling nervously at me the whole time. He held his planets poster proudly. When it was over, the teacher led them off stage. Parents clapped. Lights dimmed. And then I saw him. Ethan. Standing in the doorway. Not coming closer. Not waving. Just watching. Respectfully. Quietly. Not intruding. Not claiming a title he hadn't earned. Just staying. When Liam spotted him, his face lit up. He raised his hand and waved, small and shy. Ethan's hand lifted in response. Barely a wave. More like a soft acknowledgement. A silent thank you. A small miracle. Liam wasn't confused. Or scared. Or overwhelmed. He just smiled. Happy. Secure. And then he ran to me, grabbed my hand, and whispered. Mama. I want to go home now. Not to Ethan. Not toward a fantasy of a reunited family. Home. With me. His voice held peace. Not longing. Not loss. Just peace. I squeezed his hand. Okay, baby. Let's go. As we walked past Ethan, Liam glanced back one time. Waved again. Not out of need. Out of kindness. I didn't wave. But I didn't pull him closer or hurry him away. This was the boundary. Safe. Distant. Gentle. And Ethan understood. He stepped back. Gave us space. Gave Liam freedom. Gave me control. And for the first time in 6 years, we all walked away with something healed. Not everything. Not completely. But enough. As we walked toward the car, Liam slipped his hand into mine and said, "Mama. I'm glad he's not gone." I kissed the top of his head. "Me too, baby." He looked up at me. "But I'm glad we go home together." My voice cracked. Always. Behind us, Ethan stood in the doorway, watching us leave. Not chasing. Not begging. Just watching with a quiet understanding. He would never be the father he could have been. But he could still be the man who didn't walk away again. Bittersweet. Human. Real. And that was enough. If this story hit you in any way, tell me in the comments, what would you have done? And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe before you go.